They got it. It was a close round, but the enemy team got the 3rd point in a long, hard-fought overtime. You and your team are able to take a moment to recoup mentally. You are faced with the hero select screen once again, but this time, it's different. Maybe it's just a bit, but you know your enemy now. The Nanoblade combo they used to get those critical wins, the diva who seems to be all over the map, you've seen their tricks, and finally, you have a true down moment to try and find a strategy that will win this game. Yo, what the fuck is this? Why am I in Hero Select again? We should remove this part. Huh. Ever heard someone say they don't like push? Don't like push yourself? Neither do I. And honestly, having finally gotten some time with Flashpoint, I can't say I like it either. Now, how much I like each map type varies. I can make an entire video talking about how good each map type is and why Hybrid is the king of all map types, but I want to address Push and Flashpoint today specifically because these are the only 2 map types that are only a part of Overwatch 2 as opposed to its predecessor, thus representing the team's design direction with map types, as well as just because they both feature some pretty glaring issues the other map types don't have. And before we begin, I want to remind everyone that we are addressing the map types. I actually think that the new Junker map is pretty cool thematically, with like the Thunderdome and the Ducks. But it's the map type that we are addressing, essentially the rules of the map, not the map itself. So while a push map or Flashpoint map could be really cool, it will still have these problems. Let's start with the problem both map types share, the thing I've already alluded to in the intro. But first, a story. Way back in the day, King of the Hill maps used to be first to 3 points, not 2. They shortened it because supposedly King of the Hill matches were taking too long. Clearly they've never played Dranamura or Temple of Dranubis. That one doesn't have as good of a joke, but you get my point. I was of the opinion, at the time, that this was not a cool change, for one simple reason. Taking a round out gave you less time to adapt and strategize. You'd lose the first point and go, well, things better fix right now, or it's over, as opposed to having at least 2 down moments to try and figure something out. Now, for whatever reason, the Overwatch 2 devs don't just undervalue these moments, they've removed them completely. Having rounds is honestly, in my opinion, kinda essential to the Overwatch formula, at least if you want the game to feel good. People like to complain about Overwatch by saying that it requires too much team synergy and strategy to actually function between 5 random people, but that's kinda the beauty of Overwatch players. We are being tested on that very capability, and those at higher levels typically are better at throwing together a makeshift strategy out of nothing with complete strangers. I feel that stuff like roll luck has lessened this element of the game, but it's certainly still there. Now, that being said, having those moments to get a grip of your situation and assess each individual map feels integral to the game functioning like this. Hell, it doesn't even have to be about hero swapping. Even just addressing key elements to winning the match on your current heroes is still such a powerful thing that can only really be fully accessed during these down moments. That being said, it's also nice because you get a free moment to actually consider your hero choice more thoroughly, as well as this moment not punishing you or anyone else for doing so, making it an even playing field while still providing a moment for hero swapping. If you'll notice, the only map types to not have this mechanic are Overwatch 2 game modes, Push and Flashpoint. It's honestly baffling why Blizzard seems to want to stray away from this part of the game, when it was kind of essential for the health of the game in the first place. In some ways, Push and Flashpoint just boil down to Escort and King of the Hill, but without these critical moments for strategizing. Not really that creative in my opinion, and certainly not as nice to play. But that's not where it ends. Each of these map types individually has their own problems. Hey, wait. You're watching Setomari, like the YouTube channel Setomari. I just wanted to make sure you were aware. I know a lot of you just listen to these, or maybe you just stumbled across this channel and you haven't checked the channel name. Just hit the sub button before you turn it off, please, okay? I want to get this channel to 2K subs. Also, let me know in the comments how you feel about each map type. Personally, I find it a bit silly they removed 2CP because it got so much hate, but Push has gotten just about the same amount of hate in a shorter amount of time. Do you put Push above or below 2CP on your own scale? Do you agree Hybrid is the best of all map types, much nicer than its ugly cousin Escort? Or are you more of a King of the Hill enjoyer? I'm gonna keep yapping about the things that need to be said about the game now. Thanks. Okay, let's start with Flashpoint. Honestly, the concept of big sprawling maps you can just go anywhere in at any time sounds cool in concept, but in application, it's just a nightmare. Sure, I get lost a bit when traversing them, but that's just something that will come with time. The real issues come when the point swaps, right after one of the team's caps. Overwatch isn't exactly an RNG-heavy game, so it feels incredibly apparent something feels wrong when the entire enemy team is just standing on the next point, perfectly set up to defend it, solely because the game chose to put the new point closer to where they were. How do you remedy this? I don't know, it would take something bizarre like taking everyone back to spawn, you know, for like a down moment. But then it's basically just King of the Hill, and your creativity is almost out the window. But that calls into question if it was there to begin with, if that's all it takes. I guess this is a smaller nitpick than the last, but it certainly doesn't feel that way when the fate of your competitive game is decided by whether or not the point picker goblins decided to put the new point closer to you or not. Finally, let's address Push. Push, honestly, it just sucks. Like, I could mention things I usually see other people mention. For example, the maps are just kind of monotonous. I get that they are kinda 3 points in a way, which is sorta typical for Overwatch maps, but the way the mode is oriented makes it just a bit more samey feeling the entire time. And don't even get me started on how demoralized people feel when playing Push from behind. But I'm actually going to say the biggest problem lies elsewhere. It's the robot itself. The fact the robot goes the same speed no matter how many people are on it, unlike other payloads, thus further promoting the playstyle of everyone pushing up while one person stays behind and is the payload bitch, which nobody liked in the first place, is absolutely bizarre. They really should have done the opposite and tried to promote more people being on the payload and playing around it to kinda alleviate this issue from the first game. But for whatever reason, they want one person to have a bad time, and they even want that one person to get flamed by their teammates for low stats, thus why they removed objective time from the scoreboard. Very strange behavior. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. A huge shout out to my patrons, Cammy and James. You guys make the channel possible and keep it alive. And to everyone watching, thank you so much for watching. See you later.
Who are these two?
Don't you recognize them, Sheriff?
Why, it's...
Control an escort, but without round resets.